Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And the Lucknow Super Giants have beaten the Chennai Super Kings by 6 wickets and have taken their 5th win out of 8 matches and have beaten the Chennai Super Kings for the second consecutive time. On the 11th of both sides, starting off with the Chennai Super Kings, in the previous game they had played Rachin Ravindra ahead of Daryl Mitchell. He was opening the batting alongside Rahane, as was the case against the Mumbai Indians. And in this game, they left out Rachin Ravindra and brought back Daryl Mitchell. And they played him at the correct position in this match since they wanted to open with Rahane and Gaikwad. Daryl Mitchell being a proper number 3, this is the correct position for him. And I still don't agree with the 2 foreign overseas seamers policy. They've not done that in previous seasons. And the CSK side not utilising their spin strengths fully, even when you play Rachin Ravindra or Moini in the side. I don't quite get it, but that's what they did in this case as well. And Shardul Thakur was in line to be included as the impact substitute. And you saw that couldn't be done in the previous game because Samir Rizvi was included when the 4th wicket fell. For the Lucknow Super Giants, they went with the same side as they went with in the previous match. And KL won the toss and chose to bowl first. Now, in Lucknow, bowling first isn't such a bad thing, and we saw that being the case where I thought CSK got a good score, but LSG managed to chase that down at a canter. In this case, in Chennai, the success has been got more when batting first, and KL gave the reason as they're being due in the second innings of the toss. We've seen many captains give this reason when choosing to bowl first, and it's often not panned out in the way they would have wanted to. So I thought it was a very good toss for CSK to lose. I'd recorded a video reviewing the previous game between these two sides, but I couldn't get to uploading it. So first they'd be comparing the first innings power play from both the games. In the encounter in Lucknow, CSK got to 51 for 2 and 6 throws out an unconvincing showing, where also because of some tinkering with their batting up, some unnecessary tinkering that we saw to an extent today as well, I thought them getting to that kind of a score was a bonus. I've discussed the desired innings progressions on these kind of slow services before, where if you get to that 50 odd for 2 mark after 6, you've won that phase. It's the batting side. CSK getting to 51 for 2 in that match was a bonus considering the unnecessary tinkering of the batting lineup. In this case, 49 for 2 and 6, where the only impetus came from the captain, who played a brilliant knock today. And apart from that, Ajinkya Rahane dismissed early. Daryl Mitchell correctly sent out at 3, but threw his wicket away. And Jadeja incorrectly sent out at 4. So the only impetus they got was the start that Gaikwad had given them. So 49 for 2, slightly less than where I wanted them to get to, but once again, it was a bonus. And I thought LSG, the first mistake they had done in this game from a tactical perspective was that we've seen at this venue seamers bowling the power play, despite the fact it is a slow venue. Seamers have got the extra success in bowling the power play than spinners. And Mohsin Khan had bowled okay in the second over of the match, the first over that he'd bowled. Instead, they bring on Ravi Bishnoi, and Matthew Hayden mentioned on commentary as well that he was confused by a decision. He went for a few runs, was bowling full and wide, and I didn't understand that at all. When you've got a Raj Gaikwad there, it goes so well against spin, but has had some difficulties against the left-armers and when the ball moves away. So I didn't understand bringing on Bishnoi in the power play there. When discussing the desired innings progression on slow services, I've said before where you should look to be at around that 85 for 2 mark in 10 overs. And because of the uppercut played by Raj Gaikwad after bowling of Yash Thakur, CSK got to that, I think, around the 85 for 2 mark in 10. So even though up till the 12th over, up till the end of the 12th over, the innings was solely Raj Gaikwad from a CSK batting point of view, they were on track as far as the desired innings progression is concerned. And on Jadeja's innings, where in the previous game he's got unbeaten 57 of 40, considering how he's been going the last while, especially on slow surfaces, could you have expected more than what he had played in that inning after facing 40 balls? I don't think you could have, where after the 30 ball mark you could tell he was tiring. In this case, it was unnecessary for him to walk out at 4, 16 off 19 in a very disappointing dismissal. CSK have been tinkering with their lineup a bit, and we've seen the previous game in terms of strike rate overall, you couldn't have expected more. In this case, you saw what could have happened in the previous game as well. When you've got Jérôme Dubé, Moinali, etc. waiting in the wings, there was no need to send out Jadeja in this case, but they did so. And in the previous game, they were 87 for 4 and 11 overs with Jérôme Dubé dismissed. They got a good score at the end because of some MS Dhoni pyrotechnics. However, I thought in terms of the blueprint in the previous game, they were not in a great position of being 105 for 5 and 15 overs, and it was quite something that they managed to get that many runs in the last 5 on a slow service to get to where they got to. In this case, you've got a set Rudraj Gaikwad who until the end of the 12th over was the innings, and you've got a Jérôme Dubé who we know what he'd be looking to do. He played a belligerent knock of 66 off 27. Rudraj Gaikwad a fantastic century where you've seen him score 260 odds in some previous 2 games, but apart from that, he was getting out early. I thought this, by some distance, is the best innings that he has played in the season thus far because of how fluent he looked. He was tiring towards the end, yes, but I thought he was the main impetus for the first 2 overs, and he continued going in the way that he does, even when Jérôme Dubé was playing his shot. So, a fantastic innings from both those two. Was very happy to see MS Dhoni walk out to bat on the last ball and hit a boundary. 210 for 4 and 20 overs. I thought they'd got at least 20 runs over par. You saw 178 being chased down at a canter in the previous match, but I thought that was because they didn't manage their bowling resources well, and I was hoping they would manage things better in this case. Now, on the LSG bowling figures, I'll be saying a similar thing about the CSK bowling card in the next innings as well, where you've got Ravi Bishnoi, none for 19 and 2, bowled 1 over where he shouldn't have bowled, and then only bowls another over after that. Krunal Pandya, one of the most intelligent bowlers in the league, who's been a bank this season and most of the seasons where he's bowled, none for 15 in his 2 on a slow surface. If both those two had bowled a couple of overs more, which they could have and should have done, do you think the score would have been 210 for 4 where? Apart from Gaikwad 108 off 60, Jérôme Dubé 66 off 27, you've got 28 of 32 balls there if you exclude what MS Dhoni did in the last ball. So the LSG were at a situation where they could have prevented this from happening. The tactical decisions were not up to the mark. And you saw this happen in the second innings as well. People go with matchups and potentially due in the second innings. Just because Jérôme Dubé's batting doesn't mean one of the most intelligent spinners in the league and Krunal Pandya shouldn't complete his quota. You bowled Ravi Bishnoi in the wrong place first, and even the previous game, I thought him bowling to Moinali rather than bowling more so to MS Dhoni, and maybe after being delayed and over later would have been better for him. So the tactical decisions has presented these situations to these bowlers, and that's why they've gone for runs. Instead, you're not finishing their quota on a slow service. I didn't get that at all. Secondly, on Mohsin Khan, you've seen what's happened to Rafiq Salam, where a couple of years back, and when he started out his IPL career at the Mumbai Indians, he was bowling at under 145 kph mark, moving the ball both ways. Ahead of this season, I heard on Twitter a few fans saying that because of injuries, his pace had dropped. And we've seen that this season. Mohsin Khan, I'd say the same case is applied to him, where he is not the same bowler that we saw in 2022, maybe because of injury. You know he's bowling slow balls for the majority of the time just because you've got to bowl a seamer to death. For the sake of it, you're bowling Mohsin Khan, who's been expensive this season, just like who would have been expensive every game. Marcus Stoinis bowling 4 overs ahead of Ravi Bishnoi and Krunal Pandya. That's who bowling the last over of the innings made no sense. So, tactically, I still didn't agree with choosing to bowl first at this venue. So LSG did their fair share of mistakes in this innings and before the match started with that one vital decision. But they were now going to be chasing a quite a tall order in the second innings, and I didn't think they'd do it. And from here on, I'll be talking more about CSK because LSG were 45 for 2 after 6 overs, chasing a score which was at least 20 odd runs above par on this surface. And you've got Quinton de Kock being dismissed in the first over, who since the World Cup has not been in form. KL Rahul, Mustafizur Rahman bowling slow deliveries. He's trying to go over the top when the field is standing on the edge of the circle. He didn't get the desired elevation and was caught. So you've got 2 wickets lost there. The 2 players who are big names. And I don't know why LSG did this, where you've got Nicholas Puran, who should have batted at 3, Deepak Hooda, Ayush Badani, Granal Pandya, who walks out next. They include an impact sub, and out walks Devdutt Padikkal when you've got to chase a substantial score on a slow surface, when you've got to take advantage of the first 10 overs, as I said quite a lot of times when batting on slow surfaces, where, as you saw in the first innings, Marcus Stoinis was the innings up until the halfway mark. Devdutt Padikkal 13 off 19. As a CSK fan, I wanted him to play 30 balls to bury the game then and there. I don't know why they sent him out. Missed a straight one when Patriana was bowling, and a forgettable innings from his point of view, but at the same time, they shouldn't have sent him out there. I couldn't believe they even included him as the impact sub, considering where they're playing, but they did what they did, and but I thought CSK should have benefited from that decision. LSG were 88 for 3 at the end of 11 overs. And Nicholas Puran should have walked out at 3, walked out to bat. Now, from that point in time, I think they needed 74 runs in the last 5 overs or so. And LSG at one stage, when CSK were 126 for 3 at the same point in time, scores were neck and neck. And you thought, with the managing of resources and the at times expensive nature of the CSK fast bowlers, you thought CSK shouldn't lose the game from there, but you never know with how things could transpire. And unfortunately, we saw that to be the case, where you've got Matica Patriana 2 overs to go. They need 74 of 5 overs. You could just kill the game off there, and then one good over at that point in time would have meant that it was too big of a hurdle to cross. Instead, they go from 74 from 30 to 54 of 24 because of a 20-run over bowled by Shardul Thakur, where I don't know, even though he bowled well against the Mumbai Indians, I don't know why he needed to bowl this over when things weren't going as well for him in this game. If he had bowled Patriana there, things would have been okay. They would not have been able to get close. Secondly, Deepak Chahar 1 for 11 in 2, and you're not bowling him after that. He should have finished his quota within the first 7 or 8 overs, in my view, bowling all 4 overs. And as I've said, in terms of their template, them playing 2 overseas fast bowlers is not going to work. Mustafizur Rahman has gone for runs in the last 3 games, 2 of those where you think on the slow surfaces would suit his bowling. Had Mitchell Santner or Mahis Theekshana played in the last 3 matches, CSK would have won all those 3 convincingly, in my view, especially this one, the match against Mumbai. Even though they won, it would have been even more of a convincing victory. So I'm not too happy with them playing the 2 overseas fast bowlers. And Gaikwad said after the match was over that apparently Dew played a part in the spinners not being effective, when you played a part in that, because Jadeja, none for 16 and 2, only bowled 2 overs. Moeen Ali bowled 1 over in the previous game for 5 and 2 overs here. So I thought it was poor management in terms of tactics there. And finally, on the star of the show, Marcus Stoinis, a mammoth innings of 124, where in the previous season, 405 runs, 350 plus scores, given where he is slotted into bat, or where he was slotted into bat in the side in the previous season. I thought that was a fantastic contribution. In this case, given the low odds LSG had to chase this score down, the highest successful chase at this ground in T20s, I thought the spinners in the opposition weren't used correctly, but if you're going up against Moeen Ali, Ravindra Jadeja, and Matisha Paitana has been fantastic for CSK from the previous season. That's 12 tough overs to get away on a slow surface. And when a wicket falls in the first over, you're walking out batting just over half the innings and seeing your side home in an improbable chase from the outset. I thought it was fantastic. But as I said before, after the first 10 overs, LSG did not look like they were going to finish this game with any sort of respectability. But scoring 74 off the last 5, helped by Puran and Deepak Hooda, of course. The bulk of the job was done by Stoinis. A brilliant innings, and very well done to him. As far as what I've seen him do in T20 cricket, I'd say this is his career best innings. So, fantastic innings from him. For LSG, I've said the Super Giants group, when participating in the SA20 and the IPL, they've not been very good. In this case, sending out Devdutt Padikkal at 4 it almost sunk the ship. They were lucky that they got over the line because of a monstrous innings, and they've got to be careful where they don't dig the grave in the middle of the innings, because when you're already chasing an improbable score. So that's on them. For CSK, back-to-back losses now against the same opposition. They're unnecessarily complicating things strategically. I've seen very rare cases where you saw in the previous year at this venue when CSK and LSG played, Jadeja was brought on very late onto the attack, and so was Moeen, which I thought was an incorrect decision. But apart from that, very rarely have I seen Jadeja bowl two, who was bowling his first relatively early on and not bowling much again. I feel this more pacer-centric captaincy this season is not in CSK's philosophy, and we'll have to see where that takes in this season. Hopefully it doesn't cause more damage. If you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, share, but this is my opinion.